Marcus Holloway knew that in this game, blinking first meant losing. One wrong move and you're the next headline. But when a white cop with an inflated ego pulled a gun on him thinking he could play God and victim, he had no idea he was already standing at the edge of the cliff. Because the hunt had begun, but the prey wasn't who he thought it was. The night in Washington, D.C. was thick and suffocating, the kind that made even the asphalt sweat under the weight of the summer heat. The city was winding down, headlights dimming, traffic thinning, the usual hum of restless urban life settling into a lull. But Marcus Holloway, 52 years old, director of the FBI's Criminal Investigations Division, was far from calling it a night. He had just walked out of a high-stakes meeting with a federal informant, the kind of encounter where even the wrong breath could set off a chain reaction of very bad things happening to very powerful people. The fewer who knew, the better. Not even his own security detail was in on it. One wrong leak and my body ends up floating in the Potomac. That thought had barely settled in his mind as he stepped into the underground parking garage of a high-end steakhouse, a place where senators dined on overpriced beef while making backroom deals that would never see the light of day. His black Cadillac Escalade sat in the far corner, tinted windows gleaming under the harsh, sterile glow of fluorescent lights. The moment he pulled out his keys, a piercing siren ripped through the silence. Red and blue lights flooded the garage. The echo of screeching tires bounced off the concrete walls, followed by the unmistakable clatter of boots on the pavement. And then, hands up, move slowly. Marcus froze, not out of fear, he had long outgrown that, but out of sheer simmering irritation. He turned around slow enough to make a point. 2 cops. One of them was already gripping his holster like it was a lifeline. His eyes locked onto Marcus like he had just caught public enemy number 1 in the act. The other one? Officer Bradley Whitaker, 35. Muscular, with a square jaw, and the kind of buzz cut that screamed, "I still think high school football was my prime." His face was twisted into a self-satisfied smirk, like he had just cornered a big-time criminal instead of a federal agent with more clearance than his entire department combined. Marcus had seen hundreds of guys like him. Small-time authority, big-time complex. The kind of cop who lived for the moment he got to make someone feel smaller than his badge. Face the car, hands on the hood. Marcus stayed exactly where he was. "Something wrong, officer?" His voice was calm, measured, but there was an edge to it, sharp enough to slice through concrete. Whitaker's smirk widened. "Yeah, this car came up as stolen. Looks like you're going to have a real bad night, buddy." Marcus let out the smallest, most exhausted sigh. "Oh, so we're doing this?" He took a moment to glance down at himself. Tailored suit, Rolex, Italian leather shoes. He wasn't exactly blending in with the chop shop crowd, but sure, let's pretend a man in a $3,000 outfit boosted a car like he was rolling around in a ski mask. And the way Whitaker was looking at him, it was crystal clear. Marcus wasn't just any guy to him. He was a black man in the wrong place. Marcus didn't blink. Didn't even bother to look surprised. "Why don't you check the registration?" he said, voice smooth as silk. Whitaker grinned wider, but there was a glint in his eye, something hungry. He didn't want paperwork. He wanted a scene. "I said hands on the hood," Whitaker snapped, pulling his gun in one swift motion and pointing it straight at Marcus's head. Marcus didn't move. The air changed. A different kind of silence fell over the garage, the kind where one wrong twitch could turn into an obituary. That was when Marcus knew. This wasn't about a car. It wasn't about protocol. This guy wanted to push him. And if Marcus made one wrong move, Whitaker would be more than happy to pull the trigger. And just like that, the situation got a whole lot worse. Marcus did not move, not an inch. He could feel it. Whitaker wanted to press him. This wasn't about a stolen car, wasn't about some clerical error in the system. This was about power. Marcus had seen this kind of cop before. The badge wasn't about protecting people. It was about owning the room, about making sure that when they barked an order, everybody jumped. But Marcus, he wasn't about to jump. The parking garage felt smaller now, the air heavier. The fluorescent lights above cast a harsh, sterile glow, making every shadow sharper, every breath louder. Whitaker's grip on the gun tightened, his knuckles paling. He wanted an excuse, a reason to escalate. Marcus could almost hear the gears turning in his head. Move wrong, twitch, give me a reason. But Marcus knew this game, and he was 10 moves ahead, the moment everything shifted. Marcus exhaled slowly, keeping his hands visible, controlled, deliberate. "You just made a mistake," he said, voice smooth as glass, sharp as a razor. Whitaker didn't blink. "Save it for your lawyer." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Oh, so we're playing it like that?" His pulse was steady, his breathing even. But inside, something was clicking into place. A shift. Because now, Whitaker had made this personal. And the moment he crossed that line, Marcus was no longer on defense. Game on. "All right," Marcus said, voice calm. "Let's play." And then, he moved. A sudden step forward, just enough to make Whitaker flinch, his muscle memory kicking in. Marcus knew exactly how this worked. Cop pulls a gun, target moves, cop reacts, except Marcus wasn't the target. The moment Whitaker twitched, Marcus struck. Bang! The sound of both hands slamming against the car hood echoed through the garage. Loud, sharp, deliberate. The kind of noise that makes the brain react before it can think. Whitaker hesitated. A fraction of a second. A single beat of confusion. And that was all Marcus needed. In one fluid motion, he lunged, his hand snatching the barrel of the gun before Whitaker could squeeze the trigger. A sharp twist, a calculated pull, and just like that, the gun was gone. It clattered onto the concrete, sliding under a nearby car. Whitaker's eyes went wide. His cocky smirk vanished. And for the first time tonight, Marcus saw fear. Taking control. He didn't hesitate. One solid hit. A well-placed strike to Whitaker's solar plexus. The officer choked on air, doubling over as his breath ripped from his lungs. Marcus barely had time to register the second cop, because he was reaching for his radio. "Officer 117 requesting backup." Marcus was already on him. A single, brutal movement. He grabbed the cop's wrist, twisted it outward, sending the radio flying across the pavement before planting him face first onto the ground. A sharp gasp. A muffled curse, the metallic taste of defeat. And then, silence. One cop gasping for breath, the other pinned to the concrete. And Marcus, standing over them. The hunter becomes the hunted. For a moment, no one moved. Marcus could feel his own heartbeat, slow, steady, controlled. Whitaker coughed, struggling to straighten, his face twisted with something between fury and disbelief. And then, footsteps. Loud, heavy, coming fast. Marcus's gaze flicked toward the entrance of the garage. Shadows. More cops. And then he saw it. Whitaker's face twisting into a grin. Even through the pain. Even after getting humiliated in seconds. Whitaker smiled. Marcus's stomach dropped, because he knew what was coming next. The moment the heavy boots hit the pavement, Marcus knew. The cavalry had arrived. 3 officers in full tactical gear stormed into the garage, weapons drawn, eyes locked on him like a target at a shooting range. The red and blue lights bounced off the concrete walls, painting the entire scene in a twisted, flashing nightmare of authority gone wild. "Face down! Now!" one of them bellowed, his voice booming through the cavernous garage. Marcus raised his hands, slow and controlled, but he sure as hell wasn't getting on the ground. Because here's the thing. He wasn't the one who needed to be afraid. And Whitaker? That fool was still grinning, slowly pushing himself off the ground, wiping blood from his lip like he had just won the lottery. The arrogance dripped off of him, the kind of smugness only a man too blind to see his own downfall could carry. "You're finished," Whitaker sneered, voice thick with satisfaction. "Hope you enjoyed that little stunt, because your career just ended." Marcus stayed silent. Because the moment was coming. The moment Whitaker had no idea was about to hit him like a freight train. Marcus barely had time to process the low rumble of footsteps before they entered. Sleek black suits, stern expressions, controlled, precise movements, federal agents, and not just any agents, his agents. They spread out like a well-rehearsed play, flooding the garage, cutting off every exit. One of them, a tall, no-nonsense woman in a dark blazer, walked straight up to Marcus, handed him something, and said the words that sent an ice-cold shiver through the room. Everything is under control, sir. Marcus looked down at the golden badge in his hand, then back up at Whitaker, who had finally lost the smirk. Whitaker's face drained of color so fast Marcus thought the man might pass out. What? Marcus tilted his head, pulled a sealed envelope from his pocket and tossed it at Whitaker's feet. Go ahead. Open it. Whitaker hesitated. For the first time tonight, he actually looked nervous, but he bent down, hands shaking, tore it open. And then, his entire world collapsed. The truth comes crashing down. The words burned off the page in bold black ink. Federal investigation. Charges: corruption, evidence tampering, false arrests, abuse of authority, warrant for arrest. Bradley Whitaker. Whitaker staggered back, his breath hitching in his throat. No, this is a mistake. This is... Marcus stepped forward, his voice like steel wrapped in velvet. 9 months. Whitaker's eyes snapped to him. That's how long I've been watching you. How long I've been building this case. How long you've been digging your own grave. Whitaker froze, the reality crashing down on him in real time. The gun he had pointed at Marcus, the threats, the arrogance. It had all led to this moment. The federal agents didn't hesitate. One of them stepped forward, yanked Whitaker's arms behind his back, and snapped on the cuffs with a crisp, satisfying click. Whitaker panicked, struggling like a man drowning in his own stupidity. Wait, this isn't... I didn't... Marcus leaned in, his voice so low and smooth it could have cut through glass. You thought you were the hunter, but let me tell you something. He waited a beat, watching Whitaker's chest heave, his world shatter, his future crumble. Then he whispered, You were the prey all along. As they dragged Whitaker away, his face twisted in sheer disbelief, Marcus exhaled. Not in relief, but in satisfaction. Justice wasn't always loud. Sometimes, it was silent, precise, and absolutely brutal. And Whitaker had just learned that lesson the hard way. Game over. How would you have handled this situation? If you were in Marcus's shoes, would you have kept your cool or fought back sooner? Have you or someone you know ever faced something similar? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this story powerful, hit that like button and share it with others because these issues matter. This story wasn't just for entertainment, it was created to shine a light on real problems, to spark conversation, and to make the world a better place. Your voice matters.